In the world of multifamily operations, there is a common frustration that rarely gets discussed openly, yet it defines the success or failure of every vendor relationship in the entire industry. It is the assumption that performing high quality work is the primary reason a contractor gets invited back. On the surface, that sounds totally logical. And if you do work correctly, if you have fulfilled your contract, then you've done a good job. But in the context of a high pressure apartment community, quality workmanship is just simply the price of entry. It is the baseline expectation. It is the ante required just to sit at the table. So if you're a property manager struggling to find vendors who actually understand your daily pressure, this conversation is for you. Today, we are looking at why good work is never enough in multifamily and what the most successful vendors do differently to move from being a transactional service provider to a trusted operational partner. To understand why good work isn't the deciding factor, we have to actually start with the daily reality of being a property manager. A property manager is not just a person overseeing a building or a community. They are managing a complex ecosystem of competing priorities. On any given Tuesday, they are balancing resident satisfaction, budget constraints from ownership, staffing shortages, and the constant physical needs of the asset itself. When a property manager hires a vendor, they are not buying a service. They are attempting to buy back their own time and to reduce their own stress. And in this environment, a contractor who does good work but is difficult to reach, fails to provide updates, or creates administrative friction for the on-site team is actually a net negative for the manager. If a manager has to spend an hour of their day chasing a vendor for an invoice or explaining a resident complaint that the vendor ignored, the quality of the physical work starts to matter much less. The manager is under constant pressure to keep operations moving forward. They value reliability and friction reduction far more than the value of a slightly better finish on a project. The vendors who last 10 plus years at a single community, they understand that their primary job is to protect the manager's peace of mind. The physical work is just the mechanism that they use to do it. Most vendors in this space fall into the trap of transactional thinking. They view multifamily as a series of isolated projects. They show up when there's a bid to win, they perform the work, they send an invoice, poof, and then they disappear until they need more work. This approach creates a massive disconnect. From the vendor's perspective, they did a great job. From the property manager's perspective, it is that vendor is a maintenance item themselves. They are someone who has to be managed. It's someone that has to be monitored, and it's someone that has to be followed up with. Transactional vendors often focus on price as their main differentiator. They believe that if they are the lowest bid and they do good work, they're going to be entitled to that account. But site teams and regional managers are rarely looking for the lowest price in isolation itself. They are looking at the lowest total cost of the relationship. And if a cheap vendor requires 10 hours of oversight, they are actually more expensive than a premium vendor who requires 0 hours of oversight. And when a vendor focuses only on the project at hand, they could be missing the broader operational goals of that community. They don't see how their presence on site affects the resident retention or how their timing impacts quarterly budgets because they don't see the bigger picture. They remain replaceable. In multifamily, the moment a vendor becomes a task to be managed instead of a solution to a problem, their days are numbered. So, we're going to dive into how ownership groups view your work in just a moment. But if this perspective is helpful to you, take a second to like the video, which helps us grow the community of multifamily professionals. It also signals that you would like to see more content focused on operational trust rather than just generic sales tactics. Okay, if we move up the ladder to ownership groups and regional leadership, the perspective shifts even further away from the quality of work and towards risk mitigation and asset performance. Ownership groups, they're looking at the long-term health of the investment. They care about capital planning, being predictable with the expenses, and minimizing liability. A vendor who performs good work but fails to document their process or fails to alert the team of potential future issues that they see on site, it's not helping the owner protect the asset. The best vendors, the ones who become embedded into the portfolio, are the ones who act as the eyes and the ears of the ownership group. They understand that a property manager might just be too busy to notice, any sort of developing drainage issues or a sudden, like anything subtle to the building envelope where it's beginning to fail. But when a vendor brings these insights forward, not as a sales pitch, but as a professional observation to help the team for the next year's budget, they're providing value that goes way beyond the initial scope of that single job. They're helping the owner manage risk. They're helping the regional plan any sort of spending. They're moving from a vendor category into the consultant category. Ownership groups, they reward this behavior with loyalty because it makes the asset more predictable. And in multifamily, predictability is the ultimate currency. So if the good work isn't the differentiator, what is? It comes down to what we call operational trust. This is built on 4 specific pillars that have nothing to do with your trade and everything to do with how you operate. Okay, the first pillar is responsiveness. In multifamily, silence is a source of anxiety. If a property manager sends an email and doesn't hear back from you for 24 hours or more, they don't know if the problem's being handled or if they need to find someone else. Trusted vendors respond quickly, even if it's just to say, hey, I received it, I'll have an answer to you by 3 p.m. That small act of communication removes friction from the manager's day. Okay, the second pillar is visibility. Transactional vendors are ghosts until they want to check. Trusted vendors, they stay visible all the time. They check in when they're on site. They send brief, unsolicited updates. They make sure that the site team knows they are present and active. This visibility creates a sense of security for the property manager. All right, third, it's documentation. The third pillar, documentation. Good work isn't just documented. It's documented is a liability. And the best vendors provide clear photos. They provide detailed reports. They get organized invoicing. They make it easy for the property manager to prove to their supervisors that the money was well spent. They provide the paper trail that protects everybody involved. All right, the fourth pillar, the last one, is proactive problem solving. Transactional vendors fix what is broken. A trusted vendor identifies what is about to break, and they understand the life cycle of the property. They offer solutions that prevent future headaches for the on-site team. They don't wait for the work order. They help that property manager stay ahead of the curve. They shift from project-based business to a relationship-based business, and that requires a change of mindset. It requires you to stop asking, how do I win this job? And how to start asking, how do I make this property manager's life easier? And when you make that shift, your behavior changes because you start showing up for the community even when there isn't a large contract on the line. You handle the small repairs with the same level of professionalism as the huge ones. You treat the maintenance supervisor with the same respect as the regional vice president. And you realize that the first job that you get at the property is rarely the big job. It's a test. The property manager is testing your communication, your punctuality, your ability to work around residents without causing complaints. They are testing to see if you are a partner or a project. And if you pass that test by being easy to work with, not just by doing good work, then you earn the right to bigger opportunities. The vendors who stay for 10 years are the ones who have become an extension of the on-site team. They are ones that manager calls first because they know that the job will be done, the communication is clear, and there will be little to no surprises at the end. Okay, to wrap this up, I want to leave you with one central idea about the industry. Multifamily is a small world built on long-term relationships. Property managers move from one community to another. Regional managers oversee dozens of properties. And when you build a reputation as a vendor who reduces friction and protects operations, that reputation travels with them. Doing good work is the minimum. It's what allows you to show up. But becoming a trusted partner is what allows you to stay. And if you want to grow in this space, stop focusing solely on the technical aspects of the trade and start focusing on the operational realities of the people that you serve. Under their pressure, right? Respect their time, document your value, and stay visible. And when you become the vendor who makes the property manager look good to their boss, you won't have to worry about competing on price ever again. You will have moved beyond the transaction into the partnership. In multifamily, the vendor who protects the operation is the vendor who owns the account. If you found this value in the breakdown of multifamily dynamics, please consider liking the video. It helps to ensure that this content reaches the right professionals across the industry. And if you want to stay up to date as we continue to explore the relationship between property operations and vendor success, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notifications so you don't miss our next strategy session. Thank you guys so much for time today. I look forward to continuing this conversation on how we can all build better and be more resilient, and we can create more relationships within the multifamily industry. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Take care.